Hello, I'm Julia Hankins. I'm the founder of Wellbeing Adventurers and I'm a children's wellbeing specialist. I also work with other kids yoga teachers to support them in their businesses and to help them feel confident in what they deliver in their own classes. So inclusivity is a really core value of mine and my business, Wellbeing Adventurers. It's often something that teachers comment positively on in feedback forms. And today I wanted to share with you some of the ways that Wellbeing Adventurers creates an inclusive environment in the classes that I teach. So the first one, representation in visuals. And this is actually the reason why I wanted to do this video today, because one of the classes that I was running last week was in a new school with some new children, and I showed a card and one of the children went, "Oh, it's me." And this happens quite a lot actually. I'm teaching children is that they really relate to the images on the cards that I have. So here is the card that I was showing, and the child in question was wearing a hijab and really resonated with the image and was really happy to see that a child that looked like her was being represented in class. And she actually said that she hardly ever sees images like that. So it's really important that there's representation in the visuals that we use in our classes. So the cards are the main resource that I use in my classes, and to me it's really important that the images represent a really wide range of children, a huge variety, and representation is just crucial because it helps children feel like they belong. Seeing a range of bodies, of skin colours, hair colours, abilities, cultures, gender expressions, seeing those represented in imagery within their classes reduces stereotyping and supports the notion that the practices that we're learning in our classes are for everyone. And also seeing ourselves represented or reflected in resources improves psychological and emotional well-being. So that's why my Wellbeing Adventurers cards that I use in every class are really representative of a wide variety of the human form. So that's the first one, representation in visuals. So another thing that I do in my classes to ensure that being as inclusive as I can is being conscious with my language choices. So the words and phrases that we use can cause harm or they can build a sense of safety. So considering the words that we use when we're teaching and communicating with children is really vitally important. So for me, this looks like using neutral language around bodies, avoiding competitive language such as better, harder, best, perfect, and also avoiding assumptions that we make about the children in our care. So this also means that I avoid making gender assumptions, which means that, for example, when I'm talking about the images that I'm using, I try to use phrases like our friend here and the child or they, rather than using the terms he or she. I also consider the language used to describe family structures, and I prefer to use the phrase your grown-ups or the people in your home, because not all the children who I teach have relationships with their parents or necessarily live with their family. So just being considerate about the choices that you're making and being aware of whether the things that you're saying are making assumptions in some way. So, for example, it might be a habit of yours to say, your mums and dads, or your mums and dads. I say mum because I'm from Birmingham and that's how I say it, but you might say your mums and dads, but that's making quite a few assumptions there about the child's family structure. Also about, there's a lot to unpack there, which I'm not going to go into right now, but I think it's really important that we consider these assumptions that we make and consider the language that we're using in our classes. This isn't from like a judgmental point of view. I'm not perfect. I'm just saying these are things that I consider and I try to build into and improve in my own practice. So another thing that I do to encourage inclusion within my classes is success for everyone. So I try to make sure that all children can achieve in the classes that I teach, and some ways that I do that include using props like blocks or cushions or chairs for modifying poses where they're needed. I teach multiple variations of each pose, and I make sure that I always start with the simplest form of that so that everybody can achieve. I collaborate with other adults to support the needs of the individuals that I teach. So that could be the school staff or it could be the parents. So I'm asking them for their guidance, their advice about particular children who I'm teaching. I also always use a predictable structure for my classes, which supports many children in the class. And I use visual aids all the time. These are really supportive for any children who have language barriers of any sort. I also offer lots of variety and options to choose from, and every single lesson that I have, regardless of how long I've been teaching the children, and for some of them I've been teaching them for a really long time now, at the start of each session I still introduce myself. I still remind them of my name, say what they can expect from the lesson, and I also share my expectations for the lesson. And that's useful for those children who may forget. It's useful for if there's any new children in the class that you maybe haven't noticed were new. It's useful for you to refer back to as well and help all the children to achieve in your class. Another thing that I do in my classes to foster inclusivity is to be culturally responsive. So what I mean by that is, for example, I don't actually theme many of my lessons. I do occasionally, but I don't really teach many after school classes now. So that's when I did the majority of my themes. But now in school classes, I don't really use themes very often. But when I do, I try to use universal themes such as nature or animals. So for example, in a few weeks' time, I'm probably going to be doing a winter theme. So I would choose a winter theme rather than Christmas, because everyone in my class is experiencing winter, but not everybody in my class is experiencing Christmas. I also choose not to use Sanskrit terms or say namaste in my classes. That's because it's not my cultural heritage, and using these words doesn't actually feel right for me. I could go on now to talk about the word yoga, and that I could actually talk for a really long time, but that's not for this video, so I'm not going to go into that now. But just being culturally responsive in our classes and thinking about the choices that we're making and whether it's representative of everyone's experience in the class. Another thing that I do is have an emphasis on self-paced learning. So in my classes, the main goal is for children to listen to their bodies and to explore what their bodies can do at their comfort level. Not mine, not the image on the card, but what feels right in their body. And so there's a real focus on making a choice based on what feels right for those children. And so I often use phrases like, you're the expert of you, and you're the person that knows your body best. So these are some of the ways that I use to my classes inclusive. I'm just going to recapture them, or that's not the word. I'm going to repeat them. So representation in visuals, the visuals that I use, the resources that I use. Conscious language choices, helping everyone to achieve success, culturally responsive themes, and an emphasis on self-paced learning. So those are the ways that there's some of the ways that I make my classes inclusive. And I know that I achieve it because I get feedback from schools all the time about how great and how inclusive the session was, and how surprised they were that everybody joined in and everybody achieved. I'd love to hear, how do you make your classes inclusive? I'm always learning from other people too. So is there something that you do that I haven't mentioned? I'd love to know. Is there anything that I mentioned that made you think, oh, I'd not considered that before, or maybe I might try that? Or is there something that I said that you were just like, well, that's a bit rubbish, I'm not going to do that? I'm interested in that too. So if you would like more on this, then you may be interested in the training and resource bundle Captivate with cards. In there, I include all of my resources, which really help me to be inclusive in my classes. And so if those resources look like something you'd like to get your hands on, then check out Captivate with Cards Resource and Training Bundle. It's a self-paced e-course with downloadable resources that you can access for the lifetime. lifetime of the course, not lifetime of me or you. But at the moment in November, I am running a special offer, which means that when you purchase Captivate with cards training, you also get the school yoga teacher bundle absolutely free. So that's 5 other e-courses that you can access at your own pace in your own learning platform and your own dashboard. So if you've got any questions about any of that, email me at julia@juliahankins.co.uk and I'll do my best to get back to you. If you've got any questions about anything, or if you'd like me to do a video on anything in particular, let me know. I'm always open to ideas. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you watched this video and you found it helpful. Thanks very much.